They didn't scream or run away. They just stood watching the barn burn. A name was carved deep in the wood, Rose. Someone had cut it in with a knife, not just written it. Then came thick smoke that hurt your throat and your heart. Nobody moved. Nobody said anything. Because in Willow Ridge, you don't talk about evil. You hide it or destroy it. But Thomas Kane was different. He stepped forward, calm and strong. In front of everyone, he said something that shocked them. She doesn't sleep in there anymore. She stays in the house now. You could feel it, that moment when silence becomes judgment. When truth comes in bold and dares anyone to argue. Let me go back a few days before the fire. A stagecoach rolled in late. Nobody was waiting. Then she got off, barefoot, sunburned, dress torn and dirty. One strap hung off her shoulder, showing a dark bruise. Her knees were scraped. Her arms had scratch marks. She didn't ask for help. She just held onto the coach wheel like it was keeping her standing. That was Rose Miller. Once a preacher's daughter, now a broken woman. Most people looked away, but not Thomas. He watched from where he worked with metal and fire. He knew something terrible had happened to her. Before Rose went into the doctor's house, she said something that cut deep. Use me, break me, just move me. People said it was just a barn fire. But I promise you, something worse burned that night. Thomas didn't visit the doctor's house right away. But 3 nights later, he left bread on her windowsill. No note, no noise, just bread wrapped in cloth. And tucked inside was a bruised peach from his tree. It wasn't much, but it. Sarah Bennett passed by that night in her tight dress. She said loud enough to be heard, "A girl like that shouldn't sit where good people pass. She has no dignity left." Thomas heard it. Didn't look up, but his hammer hit harder than usual. Next morning, it got worse. 3 young men hung around near Rose. They weren't loud at first, just laughing too much, getting too close. One threw an apple core near her foot. Rose didn't react. But the second one said something about broken toys being easy to borrow. The third laughed and stepped closer, touching her skirt like it was a joke. That's when Thomas came around the corner. He didn't yell or threaten. He just looked at them, long, slow, and steady. Like a man who'd been quiet too long and was remembering his strength. The boys left, not running but not proud either. That night, Rose didn't sit outside. But Thomas found another ribbon tied to the fence with a small coin tucked inside. Maybe a thank you. Maybe something else. He didn't touch it. Just stood there with his hand on the post long after sunset. Some stories don't need big battles to burn. Sometimes it's in the look a man gives when no one else sees the fire starting. The next Sunday was hot. Rose wore the same torn dress, it was all she had. She walked to the store alone. Daniel Harper was there. He saw her and grinned. "Miss Miller," he said. Rose kept walking. Didn't answer. That's when he grabbed her arm hard. "What's the rush, darling? Thought you liked attention." Then he slapped her across the face. Rose fell hard in the dust. People gasped, but nobody moved. Not until Thomas stepped from his shop. He marched over and hit Daniel one punch to the jaw. Daniel dropped. Thomas dragged him up, shoved him against a post, and said quietly, "You touch her again, I'll bury your hand behind the barn." Daniel bled from his lip but didn't argue. He limped away. Rose didn't speak that night, but Thomas found her old ribbon on his work table, burned at one end, tied in a neat bow. He kept it in his pocket. After that, people started talking differently about the man who stood up for her like it was the right thing to do. The next day, Rose didn't come out. Thomas didn't knock. But when evening came, he left a small plate by her door, cornbread, a boiled egg, and a napkin with her name written on it. Next morning, the plate was gone. In its place was a single white button. Thomas smiled, because that's how healing starts, not with big moments, but with buttons and breakfast. That evening, she sat on the steps again, closer than before. He sat beside her without speaking. Then just before sunset, she leaned her head on his shoulder. Not heavy or desperate, just there. He didn't move. His hand rested gently over hers. For the first time since stepping off that stagecoach, Rose closed her eyes without fear. There's something powerful about a quiet man who shows up. Something special about a woman who chooses to stay. Not every story needs a wedding or a kiss. Sometimes it just needs a porch, 2 worn boots, and some peace nobody else dared give. So here's the question: what does it take for a broken person to feel whole again? Is it justice, kindness, or someone who doesn't look away when it hurts?